Hey guys, Natalie Reese here, founder of NADUPOR, and today I wanted to talk a little bit more about commitment as a follow-up to what I talked about yesterday, which was also commitment. Now, for those of you who saw my video before, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't, I shared a story about how when I married my husband Kleon 2 years ago, I actually chose to commit to myself and put a ring on my finger first before putting a ring on my finger for him, and how it was really important to commit to myself. But I didn't really tell you why. So here's the backstory, and here's why committing to myself and also asking you how you want to commit to yourself is so important to me and means so much to me. The truth is that I did not commit to myself for most of my life. In fact, I was quite a master at finding a way to live for and through others. Being a sensitive kid, being someone who genuinely wanted to help other people, and also just resulting from certain life experiences that I faced, I became very adept at reading others, at assessing others' needs and expectations, and shaping myself to show up in a way that would win approval or acceptance or love or validation, yada, yada, yada. So many of you, I'm sure, can understand how that happens. We become very attuned to assessing others' needs and picking up after them, or thinking, what would they do, or what should I do if I were to follow this person's advice, and then subsequently leaving very little space for ourselves. Well, that is a dangerous road to take. Lack of commitment to oneself is, simply put, a form of self-abandonment, and I don't say that lightly. I am someone who, as a result of getting caught up in that cycle of chasing after things outside of me, really fell prey to a lot of struggle and difficulty, which for me manifested as anxiety and depression. As early as 6 years old, I really was starting to have depressive thoughts and issues. By the age of 14, I had had my first major depressive episode. By the age of 19 and 20, I had a mental breakdown and, in fact, was suicidal. I cut myself. At age 21, or just before my 21st birthday, whether or not it was, well, I think it was God's hand, I fell, landed on my head, and that set in motion a whole chain of events that had me withdrawing from college and taking time to basically rehabilitate and get back on track. And that was really the start of my personal journey to realizing that maybe I'm not just about being a smart kid or about being a good athlete or any of those things that we can get so attached to. Maybe there's something more to me. And yet still, my 20s were about getting caught up in a relationship, thinking that if I did everything that looked good on paper, if I had the perfect resume, that would mean so much, until it wasn't enough. And I found myself in my early 30s living a life that, by all appearances, looked perfect and was not true to me. It didn't feel right. I had a very kind, wonderful, talented, smart, successful husband. I had a beautiful house. I had a dog. I had a nice car. I had all these promising opportunities for myself with my work. And I felt like I was a stranger in my own life. I knew that it wasn't true to me. And I had no concept of how to get back to that right path other than to essentially pull a thread, which was to start the process of divorcing my husband then and beginning a somewhat arduous process of finding my way back to myself. And I won't lie, it wasn't easy. And in fact, in yanking that one thread, it was like my whole life unraveled. And in the span of 2 months, I got divorced. I moved from Atlanta to New York. The company that I was there working for, which, by the way, I kind of fell into as a result of trying to please my dad, which had nothing to do with him and was all about me trying to fulfill someone else's idea of what my life should be. Anyway, that job, which should have been sort of an organization and management consulting job, turned into, this company is in a death spiral. The CEO and his partner committing grand larceny and fraud. By the way, they're now in jail. And I got to deal with that mess. My mom was sick. It was kind of like a, implosion of mass proportions. And I ended up sitting there in the wreckage thinking, well, shit. This whole living for and through others, living by others' expectations and stories didn't make me happy. That's for darn sure. And it wasn't a safe bet because look at the mess that just happened. So what do I want to do about it? Who am I? Like, what's important to me? And I figured it was about time that I started living my life for myself and figuring out just what it was that I wanted and bringing forth whatever it was within me that on some level had to be there to make a contribution. Because I knew in my heart of hearts, I could look at other people and say, they have something to give to this world. And therefore, kind of by default, there has to be something here that is meant to be shared, that is meant to be expressed, and not just, a carbon copy of someone else's stuff. So what is that? And I began that process of learning how to commit to myself, to figure out what I wanted. And even as I found my way in a new relationship with a wonderful man, I knew it was so important that I commit first and foremost to myself and make sure that my life was an expression of that truth and an honoring of that truth. Because what I realized is this life that I live is really it's a story, it's an experience of all these different things that kind of move through me, right? And that I encounter. And that in and of itself is divine. Just like everything that you experience, whether it's emptying the dishwasher, or having the most profound experience, there is something holy and sacred about what you are going through. And that everything that we encounter, everything that we experience, everything that we are is an expression of something divine and bigger than our little selves and selves. And so how can we honor that? How can we commit to that? How can we bring it forth and share it? There's something so special in that. And I believe that my passion for commitment to self, to self-support, to self-expression, to finding the freedom to bring that truth into the world stems from a lifetime of doing the complete opposite and knowing so well the pain that comes from leaving yourself, the loss of oneself. It is a pain that serves no one. It does not serve us. It does not sustain us. And therefore, it does not sustain anyone else because we can't bring ourselves to bear on any issue in the world in a way that we're really showing up for other people in an authentic way. So that's why commitment is so important to me. That's why putting a ring on my finger for myself is a symbol of how I choose to show up to myself or for myself, how I choose to listen to my heart, how I remember every day that I, just as you, have something special to share in this world. And it is not always grand. It is not always profound. It could be that I'm really good at just spouting off random trivia or having weird memories of what someone wore the first day of freshman year. Maybe that's my contribution in the moment. So be it. But it is something holy, even then, The simple moments are holy. The simple moments are divine. You are holy. You are divine. You are magical. And so I offer you just this opportunity to think a little bit more about commitment. What you can commit to bring forth your magic in this world, because it is magical. How are you willing to commit to yourself? How are you willing to turn around from feeling lost or feeling stuck or being caught in a cycle of self-abandonment, putting others before yourself, and commit to a new path of understanding that bringing yourself fully to this world will in fact be the greatest gift that you can offer others. And if you're interested in how to go about doing all this, if you're committed to finding that freedom, that joy, and that delight of letting your spirit unfurl, then please reach out to me. Email me at natalie@nadupor.com. PM me if you're catching this on Facebook. Follow me up on my contact page on www.nadupor.com. I can't wait to hear from you and support you in bringing what you are, all that is holy and magical, to this world. I will talk to you soon. Big hugs and kisses. Bye.